Some forests are alive in ways you cannot see. They remember the footsteps of anyone who dares to enter, and some say they call out to the lost. Blackwood Jungle was one of those places, dense and dark, stretching endlessly with trees that seemed to watch and vines that reached like fingers. Most people avoided it, but for a group of adventurous travelers, it seemed like the perfect challenge. It began innocently enough. I was part of a small trekking group, armed with maps, GPS, and radios, confident we could handle anything the jungle threw at us. But confidence disappears fast in a place like Blackwood. The trees towered overhead, blotting out the sun, and the air was thick with the scent of decay and damp soil. Every step we took seemed to echo unnaturally, as though the jungle itself was listening. That first night, we set up camp near a river, the sounds of insects and distant animal calls filling the heavy darkness. It was then I first heard it, a soft whisper, faint at first, barely more than a rustle in the leaves. At first I thought it was the wind, but it repeated, calling my name. Come deeper. I froze, trying to convince myself it was my imagination. Yet the voice persisted, clearer now, almost urging me to follow. The next morning, one of our group members was gone. There were no footprints, no signs of struggle, just empty ground where he had stood. The jungle seemed to swallow him completely, leaving only a silence that pressed in around us. Fear began to root. Every movement, every sound made the hairs on my neck rise. Eyes seemed to follow me from every shadow. The river, once a clear guide, now twisted and turned strangely, confusing our sense of direction. At one point, I became separated from the group and stumbled into a small clearing. There, half hidden in the undergrowth, stood a hut, rotten, abandoned, yet surrounded by bones, some animal, some unmistakably human. I froze in horror, unable to tear my eyes away. Suddenly, vines shot out from the jungle floor, wrapping around my legs. I fell, and when I looked up, a shadow emerged from the doorway of the hut. It was tall and thin, limbs bent in ways no human body should bend, eyes faintly glowing. The whispers returned, now layered with multiple voices, overlapping, chanting my name, urging me to stay. I struggled, trying to pull free, but the jungle seemed to have come alive, twisting the paths behind me and closing in. In the shadows, I saw them, my missing companions. Their eyes were hollow, their skin pale and unnatural, standing perfectly still, yet radiating an overwhelming sense of menace. "You will stay," the voices whispered, echoing through my mind as I ran blindly through the jungle. The sun disappeared behind the dense canopy, and darkness swallowed me completely. Branches grabbed at me, roots tripped me, and every step forward felt like wading through a nightmare that would never end. By some miracle, I stumbled out of Blackwood Jungle, gasping for breath as sunlight finally hit my face. Behind me, the forest seemed to pulse, alive, and I could almost hear the faintest echo on the wind. Come back, come back. I never returned, but the memories haunt me. Sometimes, at night, I hear whispers in my dreams. Shadows flicker in the corners of my room, and the wind carries the faintest echo of that call. Blackwood Jungle never forgets, and it never stops waiting. If you ever wander into a dense, dark forest and hear your name whispered on the wind, turn and run. Do not look back. Some places remember, and some places claim the lost forever. I never believed in the supernatural. That was before Blackwood Jungle. It was supposed to be a simple expedition. 4 friends, a weekend trip, and a chance to disconnect from the world. Jack, Emily, Ryan, and our friend Tyler had been planning this trek for months. We were seasoned hikers, confident in our skills, and prepared for anything the jungle could throw at us. But nothing could have prepared us for what we encountered. We entered Blackwood Jungle on a Friday morning, the air thick with humidity and the scent of damp earth. The canopy above was dense, filtering the sunlight into a dim, greenish glow. Birds called in the distance, and the occasional rustle of leaves hinted at unseen wildlife. We set up camp near a river, its waters murmuring softly as they flowed over smooth stones. That night, as we sat around the campfire, the jungle seemed alive with sounds. Insects buzzed, leaves rustled, and distant animal calls echoed eerily through the trees. But there was something else, a subtle, almost imperceptible whispering, like voices carried on the wind. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but Jack heard it too. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice low. "What?" I replied, straining to listen. "Voices, whispering our names." We all fell silent, listening intently. The whispering continued, faint but unmistakable. It was as if the jungle itself was speaking to us. The next morning, Jack was gone. We searched the area thoroughly, calling his name, but there was no sign of him. His belongings were still in his tent, untouched. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Panic set in. We debated returning to the nearest village, but the jungle was vast and we had no clear path out. We decided to continue our journey, hoping to find a way out or perhaps some clue to Jack's disappearance. But the jungle seemed to close in around us. The trails we had followed the day before were now overgrown, and the river twisted in unfamiliar directions. It was as if the landscape itself was shifting. That night, as we lay in our tents, I heard the whispering again. This time, it was louder, more insistent. The voices were clearer, and they were calling our names. I tried to wake Emily and Ryan, but they were asleep, their faces pale in the moonlight. I stepped out of my tent, flashlight in hand, and scanned the darkness. The jungle was eerily still. Then, I saw movement, a shadow flitting between the trees. My heart raced as I followed it, my breath shallow. The shadow led me to a small clearing where an old, decaying hut stood. It was barely visible through the thick undergrowth, its wooden walls rotting and covered in moss. I approached cautiously, my flashlight flickering. As I neared the hut, I noticed something strange. Bones. Animal bones, yes, but some were unmistakably human. I recoiled in horror. This was no ordinary hut, it was a graveyard. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing there. The whispering had stopped, replaced by an oppressive silence. I felt the chill run down my spine. I turned to leave, but as I did, I saw them. Figures moving in the shadows, pale, gaunt figures with hollow eyes watching me. I stumbled backwards, my heart pounding in my chest. The figures stepped closer, their movements jerky and unnatural. I ran. Branches whipped at my face, roots tripped me, and the jungle seemed to close in around me. I didn't know how long I ran, but eventually I broke through to our camp. Emily and Tyler were gone. I searched frantically, calling their names, but there was no answer. Only the whispering, now louder, more mocking. It was as if the jungle was laughing at me. I spent the night alone, huddled in my tent,
too terrified to sleep. The next morning, I packed up and left, retracing my steps back to the village. I never saw Emily or Tyler again. To this day, I don't know what happened to them. Some say the jungle took them, others say they were never meant to leave. But I know one thing for certain. The jungle is alive, and it remembers. If you ever find yourself near Blackwood Jungle, heed this warning. Do not listen to the whispers. Do not follow the shadows. And above all, do not stay after dark.